take a look at a game called A Greek Tragedy. This appeared in World at War magazine number 7, I think. I don't have the magazine anymore, I only have the game. It's a Richard Berg design, and I think it came out earlier in different formats, including, Berg's own company. It's a game, I guess you could call it Mussolini's Greek Adventure. It covers the Italian attack on Greece in 1940 and 1941. And of course, it didn't go well historically, and the Germans had to come in and help the Italians finish the job. So this game is basically in monthly turns from like November 1940 through April of 41. And it definitely favors the Greeks, as it should, I suppose, historically. As a typical Berg game, it uses an activation system. So you draw activation chits from a cup and then activate a specific formation that's called for and carry out whatever that is. It works very well in the system. One of the things that he tries to do in this game is to show the difficulties that the Italians had in undertaking this plan. And of course, you have the terrain in Greece is quite rough. The fact that this campaign is from November of 1940 through April of 1941, well, the weather's not going to be super cooperative, is it? And of course, the unpreparedness of the Italian army for the type of defender they were going to meet in Greece, as well as even the ability to get Italian forces from Italy to Albania and Greece. So the game relies on a set of tracks for ports that are in Albania. They all have different capacities, and it costs resources from that capacity to land troops from Italy into those ports, but it also costs out of the port capacity, for shipping and material for other things. So that's an interesting component of the game. The Greeks can try to bomb the ports to reduce their capacity, or if Greek, ground forces get into a port, they can try to do demolition. On the other side of it, though, the Italians can expend points to try to expand the port's capacity up to certain limits. So that's a little game within the game that is quite fun. He's included air units, so you do have some early 1940s air forces, and they can do interdiction, air-to-air combat, and ground support missions and things like that. And in typical Berg style, he has events. In fact, during the activation phase, 2 of the chits that you can draw are Il Duce, and you have to roll a die when you get one of those on the Il Duce table, and it comes up with an event that affects the theater from outside of the theater. So it adds a lot of flavor to the game. I like that. Overall, it's quite a good game. I'm going to take a closer look at it by going down to the map, if you will join me for that. So now we're beginning the historical game, which starts in November of 1940. One of the first things you do is roll for weather, and I rolled for rain. So we know it doesn't rain the entire month of November, but it's characterized by rain, so there's going to be muddy roads. It's going to slow movement down for both sides, and there's going to be limited air power depending on the days that it's clear. There'll be air power. The ones that it won't, there'll be less. So this is simulated with a reduction of air power. Now the Italians are attackers here, so they start the game with initiative, which means they can manually choose their first activation marker. The rest will be randomly selected. So they choose the 25th Corps, and in this activation they also can activate air units. So they want to interdict with some air units on the eastern part of the map where the Greek forces are going to be trying to come in, and it will slow them down in addition to the bad weather. However, the Greeks were able to intercept. They do have fighters at Kazawi, so since the Italian bombers were not escorted, the Greek fighters neutralized one of the bomber squadrons, but the other one was successful. So there is going to be interdiction for this month in that area. The 47th Bari Division lands at Vlor, which is a port in Albania. It's a friendly port, so it expends port capacity points to be able to do this. However, these units that land in these ports have to roll for cohesion. And this simulates a number of different things depending on what month it is. It could be any of these things or numerous. It could be the lack of training that unit has. It could be antiquated weapons. It could be the lack of winter clothing, transport problems, or anything else that could be happening in the port that limits capacity and will, make the shipment difficult. And in this case, the 47th Bari failed the cohesion check, so it's flipped to its reduced side. And then it will have to be rebuilt, refit later, which will cost more support points from the port to do that. In this first photo here, you can see the main effort this month of the Italians. The 25th Corps is wanted to move toward this port in Greece, Igoumenitsa. And this is a port that they don't control yet. It has the Greek 51st Infantry Battalion in it. So the Italian uses two CR-42 fighters. These are Italian biplanes to provide ground support in this case. And the Littorio group with some artillery is going to lead in the attack. They absorb some step losses in this, but they are able to push the Greek 51st Battalion back. Also in this second picture, it shows the two main battles that happened in November of 1940. One unit has actually retreated out of the area toward the center of Greece. One other noteworthy thing that happened during the activations is the Elduici marker was chosen. Of course, it comes up twice. The first time was beneficial for the Italians. It allowed for an increase in air power. So 2 squadrons of fighters became available in Italy. These presumably were relocated from Belgium, where they had been in service before. So that's a positive for the Italians. However, the second Elduici marker that was drawn led to an event. British naval and air disrupts Italian shipping. So this pretty much shut shipping down for the Italians for the rest of the month of November. So that was a negative result that came up from this. So now we go to December of 1940. We roll for initiative. The die roll is tie, so there's no initiative this turn, which means nobody gets to select an activation marker. They'll just begin right out of the box, random from the cup. The weather die roll led to snow. This is the worst weather that you can have in this game, so it's going to limit air power. It's going to limit movement and things such as that. Also, I'll note that the Greeks did receive some reinforcements. They received a squadron of British medium bombers, Blenheim 4s. So this is going to help in the air efforts for the Greeks this turn. One of the events that happened this turn is the Elduici marker called for the Greeks to be able to have a free amphibious landing. So they were able to bring the Greek 10th Battalion into the port at Igoumenitsa. So this is going to beef up the defense a little bit for what is perceived as the imminent attack. Interesting thing happened here too in this first picture that you can see. At the very top of the map, you'll see a Greek cavalry was able to move in, and it's actually cut the supply line of the Italian 26th Corps. So this is really going to put a wrench in the works for the Italians till they clear that cavalry unit out. There's another selection of the Il Duce marker. This time the event was that Mussolini insists that the Air Force bomb Greek cities. So the game effect of that is that none of the Air Force is now available for interdiction or ground support because presumably it's being used to terror bomb. So that's an unfortunate result for the Italians. In this next photo, you see the main effort of the Italian Littorio group, which has attacked the Greek port at Igoumenitsa, and this time it drives the defenders away and it's able to capture the port. I believe that port eventually can have up to a 10 capacity, so that could be very helpful once it becomes operational. That's pretty much how the month of December went. Okay, now we're going to move to January of 1941. The Italians gain the initiative this time and decide to activate the 8th Corps. The weather is automatically snow. It's January, and the Italians are only going to have 6 air missions to use during this month. One of the interesting events that came up through the chit draw was Greek supply problems. And this happened early enough, and the effect is to remove the Greek A, B, and E corps from the pool so they can't activate this term, representing the supply problems. In this picture, you can see the Italian 25th Corps has captured the port, of course, of Igoumenitsa, but also more inland, they have captured the town of Ioannina. So this is a positive result. However, in this next picture, you can see some of the problems that the Italian 26th Corps is suffering. They are still cut off. You can see the isolated markers, and they are taking attritional losses now because of this situation. Now we go to the next turn, which is February 1941. This time, the Greeks actually gain initiative. They're going to open with the B Corps. And it's snow again, but the Italians do have 9 air missions available. The Greeks did get a couple of activations in, but then drew the Greek supply problems event again. So 4 activation markers for the Greeks are removed from the game for the rest of this turn. So these units are just going to be stuck. You can see in the photo, though, that the Greeks have secured the eastern part of the map, and they have moved into Albania across the border. You can also see in the same photo, though, that the 26th Corps of the Italians is back in with their line of communications, so they're not taking any more attritional losses in it, at least that they can get full activations now. In this next photo, you see the Greek A Corps coming up from the south along the coast. It is trying to get up there to relieve the Greek port at Igoumenitsa. We'll see how that goes. But what's happening here is, that port is important for the Italians to hold, but the Italians need to, invest and acquire, targets to the eastern part of the country to be able to win. If they are short of that, then the Greeks are automatically going to win, and presumably the Germans will have to come in, as they did historically, to salvage the day for the Italians. Now we go to March 1941. The Greeks get the initiative this time, and they're going to choose the A Corps for an activation. The weather now has turned to rain. This is not quite as severe as the snow, but the roads are still muddy. It's going to slow everybody's movement down. It's going to limit air missions. The Italians do get 13 air missions at their disposal, though. And another thing that happened is that the British 1st Armored was released by Churchill from North Africa, and it's landed in Athens, so it will have an activation marker now so that it will be able to be useful to the Greeks in defending their country. An event did come up where the Greeks experienced supply problems once again. This time the E Corps' activation marker was removed for the turn. Noticing in this first photo, you see the Greek Sea Corps has captured Korça in Albania. And you can see that they've fairly well blocked off any Italian advances into eastern Greece. In this next photo, you can see how the Italian forces seem to now be on the defensive. They're just trying to protect, what they've captured and that northern area just over the border and the port that they have there. And then in photo 3, we have the Greek A Corps is launching an attack against the Italians at the port in Igoumenitsa. And the Greeks have some artillery support to help make this attack more successful, but it turns out that the Italians have field guns in the port. So in the end, the attack was repulsed. So this didn't really go the way that the Greeks wanted it to. And now we move into April 1941. The Greeks have the initiative yet again, and rain prevails as the weather condition, but the Italians do get 12 missions, which is pretty good considering the weather. Also, Churchill sends the New Zealand division from North Africa. It's going to arrive at Athens. And early on in the turn, an event came up that Mussolini demands results. So this means that any Italian attacks that are made have to be aggressive, which, increases, possibly the success, but certainly increases the number of casualties that the attacker will take. And they also have to stand fast if they are attacked, which will also limit their ability to retreat. They will take losses possibly instead. So this is not a good event for the Italians as far as flexibility goes. In this first photo, you can see the area of Kohytsa. The Greek 9th Infantry is attacked by the Italian 26th Corps. You can see there's plenty of air support in there. And then in this next photo, it shows, the continuation of this attack. The end result here, the 9th ends up having to retreat to get out of harm's way. So this is somewhat of a successful attack by the Greeks. In this next photo, we can see the Greek E Corps is attacking the 49th Parma division. Again, this Italian unit has stand-fast orders as a defender, so it limits his options. Maybe he'll inflict more casualties on the attacker, but he is not going to probably survive. In fact, he doesn't. And the 49th Parma is eliminated. So this is going to bring the game to an end in a Greek victory. And mainly this is because the Italians couldn't achieve their victory conditions. They do control the one port, Igoumenitsa, and they have a strong position near Ionia. In addition, the random events came up hurting the Greeks, causing supply problems. It gave the Italians a real head start, but the failure of the 26th Corps to secure the left flank, remember it got isolated early on there, it was quite detrimental into its need to capture the city of Edessa and the other city of Larissa. These were all part of the Italian victory conditions, in addition to that port. As you can see in this picture of the center, this is like the final positions. The Greeks admittedly did not perform that well on their attacks, especially the A Corps when they were trying to attack the 25th Corps at Igoumenitsa. But the fact is, the historical game is very difficult for the Italians to win, as it should be. You can see in this next picture at the end of the game, it shows the port of Igoumenitsa, and this is the one Italian success in this game was capturing this port and trying to get it operational. And this last picture shows that, you know, Albania was not unscathed in this either. And you can see the town in the middle of the map there. Korça has been captured by the Greeks. So I'm sure this isn't going over well with Albania. But what we do know is that very soon the Germans are going to come on the scene and overrun this whole thing and put an end to it. But no doubt this will disrupt, you know, their plans of the upcoming Barbarossa. You can see how this all connects together. I hope you enjoyed this look at this game. I think it's a fairly good game for a magazine game, and because I like Richard Berg, so if you have an opportunity to play this, you might find it enjoyable. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.